Okay, the idea was take one of these to the spec out. So yeah, dollar store light, or from the pound shop in the UK would say. So it's not the fanciest, but it's pretty good for a pound. Comes with a little solar panel on there and a meager small battery inside, which the little LED, and I've snipped those wires already. And the idea is to retrofit some of these guys. Now they're possibly hard to see, but yeah, if I can focus in. Yep, there we go. It's these little 1-watt LEDs. Now what I also bought was a load of these guys, which is these little star LED attachments with the back like this as well, so to act as a heatsink. Now when you run these, they actually get pretty damn hot, so I'm not sure longevity of these, but I've also ordered some that can take 5 of these little guys, and it's 47mm. Now that works out quite nicely with these, because diameter is 6mm. Realistically internal, I think it's about 5mm, so it works out pretty perfect. These just screw off. Inside a couple of screws. And there's no amount of space in there. Now realistically there's only 2 screws, so I only need 2 legs, so I could get rid of 2 of those. I'm not going to be using the solar panel, it's a shame. I'd really like to, but it just doesn't give anywhere near enough power output. Now the plan is to pair it up with something like this. Now this is a little LED driver. The great thing with this, it can take from I believe 5 to 35 volts. It's a step down converter, and it's constant current. So the brilliant thing is you can focus in, yep, maybe it's close, there you go, yeah. And these little guys are great. Negative in, positive out, negative out. And also the beautiful thing is, if you can see in the corner there, PWM, so you can control this externally with the an Arduino, ESP8266, anything like that, which is cracking. In my experience, you're going to get more longevity with something like this if you run it a bit lower, especially if you haven't got proper heating. I've ordered some heat sinks, so I'm just waiting for those to come through. But the idea will be that this little bad boy will be able to sit somewhere in here and get one of these, which will be soldered onto there, and that just, you know, it's great. It fits in quite nicely. That's going to have a heatsink, I think, realistically, especially for the one that has 5 on. That's going to generate quite a bit of heat. I did have another one of these guys soldered. No, I had originally purchased some of these. Now the idea being that this, once it's soldered and once I find the other, I shall show you, but it just sits nicely like that, and you have the LED inside. I'll crudely just put that guy on there. He just sits there like that, and you can see the little egg yolk type centre there. And the light output is pretty good. It's quite nice, but it does get hot to touch, so that's why I keep going back to this heatsink, and that's why I need to do something about that. But the plan is to do that. This will hide in here. What I will then have to do is, once this goes back in here, this is going to heat, yeah. But the problem is then getting power, so I think realistically what I'll have to do is run a wire from inside. Can just go alongside of it. Now it's a shame because you're going to end up with a black line down the side, but it's not the end of the world. And I think it'll look good, pretty the same. That light will come out. Now the beauty of this LED driver is that you can run up to 10 LEDs. Now the only problem that you may face, it depends on the voltage of your source. That's going to determine how many you can run realistically, because what it's doing is doing constant current, so it's doing 350 milliamps. So if you have multiples, it's still going to be doing 350 milliamps for each one, because they're going to draw that, and that's what it's going to pump out. And you need to run those in series. So it's a case of, it's hard to see, but there is polarity directions on here. So you're going to do negative to negative, and then that positive is going to go to the negative of this little guy, and then you're going to continue on like that, and potentially you could do it with 10. That's why it's rated for up to 35 volts. If you're going to do a full 10, you're going to start needing some okay voltage. Feel free to correct me. Not an expert, so yeah. But that's my interpretation. But I'm going to be running it from a 12 volt source, which is going to be charged up during the day by a power bank. And then what I'm thinking is that I can either do it two ways. I can have a couple of these with 5 watt LEDs in. 5 watts worth, so 5 1 watt LEDs. And then power those two separately off a 12 volt source, do it that way. Or I could go and buy a bunch more of these and could say do 10 lights spread along the garden. Now with that I'll not be able to control them independently, but I could do 2 banks of 5. And I've got another little project which I found on the internet, which I've compiled, which I can just show briefly here, which is the PCBs for this. So I'm going to look to make these up. I've already made one, and that's in my garage, which is working great. So yeah, so it's a case of having to play, see what we can do. So yeah, I shall be back once we start, when it's got the heat sinks, and we'll start going with things.